So yeah, I mean, sorry, I'm so awkward. I don't talk about this stuff really except for like therapy, so I don't know. I don't know how to like not go into like that mode.
We watched a video that kind of chronicled all of the cancellations.
Oh my god.
Yeah, are we going to show up on some sort of list having you on?
What was interesting was that, like, it was, they said that in some cases people will, like, build careers, become famous, and then do something, like, super offensive to people. But in this case of Shane Dawson, that is not what happened. Shane Dawson was super offensive the whole time. That's actually like what he became famous for, kind of. So then it's like, it's just an interesting dynamic where you were just a wild, outrageously offensive guy, and everything was great until people just got upset about it after the fact.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, no, it was a lot. I mean, listen, like I'm not one of those people that's mad that I got canceled. I mean, maybe in the beginning I was, yeah, because those videos were from a long time ago, and a lot of this stuff was from a long time ago, and I hadn't done anything like that in years. But I mean, I'm also kind of glad it all happened because it made me face a lot of things and realize, yeah, a lot of things.
Right. So what has been what's been going on recently? You remember maybe when we got together like all those years ago, I think I called up my niece on the phone, or maybe we made a video and sent it to my niece, but my niece was just such a rabid Shane Dawson fan. And I texted her yesterday. I said, "Are you still like a fan of Shane Dawson?" She said, "Yeah." Like, I said, "Oh, because we're gonna record a podcast with him tomorrow." And she goes, "WTF? Oh my God, that's great!" And she said, "From what I gather, he's doing very well since he got in trouble with the popular media."
Popular media.
Yeah, like her take on it seems to be that your cancellation, so to speak, was with like the mainstream media, and that under in kind of your world, sort of under that radar, that everything's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like when I started doing YouTube, the people that were watching were, I think the types of people that were watching my stuff changed in like 2018, 2019, and I started doing things about makeup, and I think it opened up to, and not to make excuses, but I think I started doing YouTube videos for kind of like fucked up, weird, outcast people, and then the more mainstream YouTube got, and the more I was doing documentaries on or documentaries, people don't like me when I call them that, but I was doing videos about people that were more mainstream, so it was a lot of like,
yeah.
And then they were really surprised by all the old videos, obviously. So yeah, I mean, sorry, I'm so awkward. I don't talk about this stuff really except for like therapy, so I don't know.
Haven't you talked about this stuff before though? Or just not publicly?
I don't think I've talked about it yeah, not really. Like I'll touch on things in podcasts a little bit, but then I kind of stop because I don't want to. It's hard to talk about stuff because if you talk about it, people think you're trying to be a victim. If you say about certain things, they think you're manipulating or you're trying to change the narrative or all this shit. So I just don't talk about anything.
I mean, the fact that you're nervous about it is pretty authentic, I think. And like, it's better than having being prepared. Because you could tell when you start to talk about it, you stop talking about it, which means like there's shame around it. And like the neurons are just looping back to the same spot. And I think talking about it helps kind of connect new like neural pathways to where you're not like, so flight or fright with it, and it just gets easier and easier. But if you're not comfortable talking about anything, we don't have to talk about anything at all.
I think there's something to what you said too, that when you say the fact that Shane's nervous about it, there's something authentic about that, you know. Like if you're really comfortable, like, oh yeah, let's talk about, you know, like that. I have no problem there. Then it feels like, you know, there's no gravity to it, and you know, like
Yeah, there's certainly trauma around it because, like, I can when you're breathing out like that, like I'll do that in therapy, and like my therapist is like, dude, your brain doesn't know the difference between like, you know, you running your because like when that kind of stuff happens, like you're operating off your reptilian brain, and so it's like your body doesn't know the difference whether you're running from a dinosaur or like somebody's just asking you a question because like it hasn't been processed. So, I mean, I think it's good to talk about it. And I mean, I think the worst has already happened.
Right.
And nobody's going to find out anything. You haven't lied about anything. So, like, you know, saying shit, I think is okay. But I think the fact that you are nervous about it is a good thing because it's authentic.
Well, thank you. I mean, that exactly what you said. Sorry, I've like cotton mouth. Exactly what you said is what my therapist said too, which is like, yeah, I got into a place where I was in fight or flight mode 24 hours a day. Where like, I mean, not as much anymore. I don't want to seem like I'm like fucking like
Well,
I'm
you're
doing
showing
good.
up to do a podcast.
Right.
Like, that's not yours. So that's
Right.
good.
But you know, like the last 2 years after I got canceled, and I was like, I'm done. Not making any videos ever again. I'm done. I went through, you know, not to get too, you know, whatever, but it was really bad. And then we moved. We moved to Colorado. That's where my husband's family is, and I'm really close to them. And I just wanted to get away for a bit. And also, we found this house out there that was unexpected. So we moved out there, and I had the best year of my whole life. Like, 2020 was really bad, and 2021 was like, I wasn't on my phone, I wasn't on the internet, um, and it was, yeah, it was the best year ever. And then around the end of 2021, I started thinking like, I do want to make stuff again, and like you said, it's like I'm obviously ashamed of a lot of the old videos and the old sketches and stuff, but like you said, I didn't. It's not like a secret thing. I didn't hurt anyone. I mean, I guess I hurt feelings, but I didn't physically hurt anyone. I didn't rape anyone. I didn't do anything to where I should be in hiding. It took me a long time to get to that place to believe that, but you know, that I shouldn't be in hiding or something. But
But when we were coming out here and you're like, okay, I'm doing a podcast, where were you like, oh, fuck, I don't want them to ask me this?
oh, I mean,
Or what was the shame or fear there
yeah.
about doing a podcast? Like, because I know there was maybe something specific that you thought about that you didn't want to go near.
I mean, it sounds whatever, but my biggest fear and why I say no to a lot of stuff like this, not that I'm getting asked a lot, but I say no a lot because I know the reaction is going to be possibly negative for you guys. So for me, I'm like, okay, I love you. I'm so grateful that you came on my show all those years ago. Like, that was fucking insane. Like, I still have people asking me about that. My brother's obsessed with you. So I wanted to say yes, but I know you're going to get shit and you're going to get comments. People are going to be like, can't believe you had him on and all this stuff. And then I'm not going to read it, but I don't want that to like fuck up your shit, and I don't want you to regret it. And yeah, so it's like a lot of like feeling like, kind of the way I put it is, I feel like I'm cancer in a way, where I'm like this thing where if people are around me now, they can get canceled, and that's probably ended. That was more probably a couple years ago, but it does feel like that, you know, like, oh, I'm this fucked up thing, and if you're near me, everybody's mad at you now. So I just kind of seclude.
well, that's thoughtful, and you know, we appreciate that. I think that our whole kind of vibe is, it is what it is, you know. I think that the idea of there being negative comments, there's going to be negative comments no matter what you do. And I'm personally kind of interested in just the story of, you know, what happens after all that.
Right.
You know, like I think that a lot of people in the world would take the position that cancel culture went too far, and that it's, you know, enough. and I think that having really taken the brunt of it, and showing up to speak up for yourself after the fact, that there's some courage in that. And anybody who wants to kick you while you're down and pile on to a bunch of traumatic stuff, like maybe what we're doing here is an exercise in shining a light on that, and showing it to be unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for sorry, I promise I'm not like this all the time. Like,
No, it's okay. I mean, it's just honestly, it's better that you're not like, you know,
right.
zany
Cavalier.
and fucking.
I know.
Hi,
Hey, guys.
I'm back. Like, I mean, this is like
Right,
what
right.
like, you know, you're gonna hate me for doing this, but I'm gonna go
Uh-oh.
deep.
Okay.
You brought up the fact that like you didn't want to come on people's podcasts because you felt like a cancer.
Mhm.
But did you always feel like a cancer? Like, was that's not the first time that you felt coming on? Because the reason I say that is because, you know, your whole idea of like making videos would be for shock value.
Right.
And I would think that like to have that kind of a thought system, you kind of had like a lot of resentment in you before you started making videos, and you found out like that, you know, you can make videos, and then you became shocking, and maybe in your head you were like fuck it, I like fuck everybody. I feel like a cancer anyway in life, so like I'm just gonna go. Like you felt justified by going that hard. Is that some level of accuracy to it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds weird, but I am not like as a human, as a person, I'm not like a gross person. I'm not like a shocking person in my real life. I'm not making crazy gross jokes. I've never been that. I've always been really quiet. So with the videos, I mean, I grew up watching, Scary Movie and, Chappelle and all those things. So that was kind of how what I liked formed. And I love playing characters and wearing wigs and doing all these things. And I do love getting a reaction. Like I would make these videos and I would show my mom, who's like really religious Christian. And my favorite part of making the videos would be watching my mom's reactions, because it was so like, I love when people scream because they're laughing, or they scream because they're shocked. It's just like, oh my God. And so I was doing that, and I did it in high school. Like I would do these video projects in high school, and the teachers would freak out because they were like, I can't believe he did this. Like, what the fuck? And that was kind of, the beginning of that. So yeah, but it was weird because then when I'm not in these videos, I'm not that at all. People were really liking the videos, and I was, being asked to go to YouTube things, and I had YouTube friends, and but there were a few people that were mad and were calling it out, and I was, being like, no, well, people think it's funny, and I'm not trying to be offensive, so it's fine, which is stupid. I should have listened to those people, but yeah, it wasn't like I never wanted to be that, right? Like I never wanted to be the person that's making all this horrible shit. Like that was not what I wanted to do.
I find that I'm feeling a great deal of compassion for you, and
Thank you.
like I see, like I can.
You're honest. You're vulnerable.
I can feel like the trauma of like everything that's happened with cancel culture, and I kind of like I can just maybe it's like empathy, but I can feel your pain, and it makes me it cultivates compassion. I want everything to be okay for you.
Thank you. That's the nicest thing ever. I mean, sorry that I'm making you feel bad.
No. I mean, it's not
But
like
yeah, like that's
you're gonna make me feel bad, but it's like I don't know, like Scott said. Here you've like the fact of you being nervous.
I mean, I could see the indicators of like picking your fingers. Like you're uncomfortable talking about this shit. Clearly, you're blowing out. You're like.
Yeah, but to Scott's point,
but that's real. That's vulnerable.
Yeah, to Scott's point, there's like they're, you know.
It's okay if you pick your feet.
I know. No, I'm like, oh fuck.
No, I always notice things like that with people because I'm the same way too. You know.
I remember at one of our sober functions, talking to a sober guy, and and just expressing to him that that like I felt really just ashamed of what I had become, like what I turned into with drugs and alcohol, and I was like, yeah, like it's probably not good to be so like shameful about it. And this guy said, no, dude, like regret is absolutely healthy and important and the way forward. So, but there's certainly, no judgment here, you know.
Thank you. I mean, no, I appreciate it, and I want to get better at like talking about stuff. I think, and I've tried to do it on my podcast, but then I always just shut down because I don't know. I don't want to. It's just really complicated. It's hard to talk about cancel stuff, cancel culture, when like I'm not delusional. I know why I got canceled. I understand it. I get it. I feel sorry about it. But yeah, it was a lot, and I don't think any person should be put through that, because if I didn't have Ryland, I'd be dead. Like, so I want to at some point talk about it more, because I feel I got to talk about it in therapy a lot. I'm like, I want to do something for people, because cancel culture isn't just on YouTube. It's everywhere. It's in people. Like, I've had people that I know who have lost jobs because of a patient who said something that wasn't true, and then this and that. It's like it's happening everywhere, and so many people feel like this. So it's like, yeah, at some point I do want to get better at talking about it, because I am grateful that I am okay after all of that. But it's hard to talk about that, because then people are like, oh, you're trying to, fucking feel bad about or be a victim and this and that. So then I just say, well, fuck it, I'm just not going to talk about it.
Yeah, I think the worst thing that you can do though is just to make a joke. Make a joke about it, or at least because then that's just it's a deflection for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the more that you're honest and vulnerable about it, it always reminds me of this. The word personality comes from the root word persona, which means to wear a mask.
Mm.
And I always like the people that have the best personalities in the world just makes me think of like that they're covering up the most, So if somebody's like, hey, what's like, they're just too on and they're too charismatic. It's like that person's really hurt inside.
Right.
So you don't, I think, want to make a joke about anything you've ever done, because it's not funny. And everybody knows it's not funny. So just be real about it. Just be like, fuck, dude, you were pretty honest and vulnerable with us. And that's a lot easier than being like, okay, so anyway.
That is so fucking true, because at the beginning, when I started trying to get back into making stuff again, I was really making a lot of jokes about suicide. Like, too much. Borderline, like, why was I doing that? And in the moment, I try not to do this, but I watched like a video of somebody reacting to the video, because it was my first one back in, since I had been canceled. And one of the suicide jokes came up, and the person was just like, And I was like, oh, I just felt so embarrassed. I felt so stupid.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, it's like, it put me back in high school when I would be the first one to make the fat joke, so that like people wouldn't, I'm like in on the joke. Hee, like I get it. I have titties, like whatever. So it put me in that same space where I'm like, oh, so now that's my new thing. I'm trying not to make jokes about how I look, and I'm trying not to make suicide jokes and all these things, because they are real. And I do use humor, but yeah, there is a certain point where it makes people feel like, ooh, this is dark.
Yeah, sure.
It's like, yeah.
But everybody does it, so don't beat yourself up for it. I mean, fuck, dude. I probably made 20 mistakes like that today. But it's like, I think being aware of it really makes a difference, to where, like, if you do it, don't beat yourself up. Just like, fuck.
Right.
I did it, and then move on.
Right.
Instead of vapors, they're using flavored air. Instead of electronics, we're all natural over here. Go to tryfum.com. That's TRYFUM.com/Stevo. And use the promo code Stevo at checkout you will not only get a great deal, but you'll get an additional 10% off your order because you are a listener of the Wild Ride podcast.
Yeah, dude.